Yeah, I just feel like a lot of people are on it.
Right, and don't talk about it. Sure.
And so I'm like, well, why are we like questioning? We should just talk about it and be totally open.
Leadership leads to talent development. You really want a leader that wants to develop talent and that wants their team to be the best in class and the best team that they can have.
Serena's $50 million revenge. Why the Queen of Tennis is destroying ABC to protect Eala. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, the one and only destination for the most explosive, jaw-dropping, and unfiltered stories happening in the world of tennis. And people, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what we are about to unpack today is not just a sports story. This is not just a celebrity feud. This is a full-scale, $50 million war that is going to permanently redraw the lines between professional athletes and the media machine that has been feeding off their pain for decades. If you thought the most brutal battles in tennis happened at Wimbledon, at the US Open, or under the blistering Australian sun, you have been watching the wrong court. The most consequential, high-stakes, and absolutely ruthless match in the history of this sport is happening right now, in the panicked boardrooms and the frantically buzzing legal departments of ABC and its parent company, the mighty Disney Corporation. The so-called queens of daytime television thought they were untouchable. They thought they could drag a 20-year-old rising star onto their stage, corner her, pick apart her wounds for cheap entertainment, and walk away without consequence. They were catastrophically wrong, because they made one fatal, career-ending miscalculation. They forgot that the greatest tennis player who ever lived has a memory like a steel trap, a legal war chest that could fund a small nation, and an absolute zero-tolerance policy for bullies. So grab your popcorn, smash that like button right now, and settle in, because the revenge masterclass that Serena Williams is currently orchestrating against The View is the kind of story that gets told for generations. Let us start from the very beginning, because context is everything here, and you deserve the full picture. 4 weeks now, the tennis world has been completely electrified by the story of Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino tennis sensation who has been turning heads and breaking records on her meteoric rise through the professional ranks. Eala is not just a promising young player. She is a phenomenon. She is the embodiment of a new generation of tennis, fearless, technically brilliant, and representing not just herself, but an entire nation and an entire region of the world that has been waiting for a champion to call their own. The Philippines has gone absolutely delirious with pride watching this young woman compete at the highest levels of the sport, and rightfully so. Eala is the real deal, and the whole tennis community knew it. So when she was booked to appear on The View, a flagship ABC daytime program, it seemed like a perfectly reasonable, celebratory moment. A young, exciting athlete getting a mainstream platform to share her story, connect with a broader audience, and show the world who she is beyond the baseline. That is what the segment was supposed to be. A celebration, an introduction, a moment of joy. What it allegedly became was something so different, so calculated, and so deeply disturbing that it has shaken the foundations of how sports media operates. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of what went down in that studio, the interview quickly devolved from a celebratory conversation into what can only be described as a coordinated ambush. Producers allegedly went off the approved script. Hosts, most prominently Sunny Hostin, allegedly pivoted away from the agreed-upon talking points and began launching a relentless series of invasive, pointed, and deliberately uncomfortable questions designed not to inform or entertain the audience, but to corner a young woman, destabilize her emotionally, and mine whatever pain or vulnerability they could find for the sole purpose of daytime television ratings. Think about that for a moment. A 20-year-old athlete in a foreign country, on a massive national television platform, surrounded by cameras and a live studio audience, with no warning, being pelted with questions designed to break her down. And here is the thing about Eala that these producers clearly did not fully appreciate. She did not break. She kept her composure with a poise and dignity that far exceeded her years. And then, in a move that instantly became one of the most talked about moments in recent sports media history, she walked out. She got up, kept her head high, and she left. That walkout was not just a moment of personal courage. It was the spark that lit a $50 million inferno, and ABC is still trying to figure out how to put out the fire. Now here is where the story explodes into something truly historic. Because the response to what happened to Eala did not come from a PR team or a corporate sports management agency. It came from the very top, from the absolute pinnacle of women's tennis, from the woman who redefined what it means to be a champion both on and off the court. Serena Williams, the greatest of all time, the owner of 23 Grand Slam singles titles, the most decorated and dominant tennis player in the history of the sport, did not merely post a tweet of support. She did not send a heartfelt Instagram caption. She went to war. Industry insiders have confirmed to Champions Tennisitics that Serena Williams is not just a sympathetic bystander in this story. She is the silent, ice-cold, and utterly lethal general behind a $50 million lawsuit that is aimed directly at ABC's jugular. The lawsuit is not a warning shot. It is a cannonball fired at point-blank range. Here is what makes this even more staggering. Serena Williams has built a business empire since retiring from professional competition. Her venture capital firm, Serena Ventures, has invested in hundreds of companies. She understands leverage, strategy, and power at a level that most people can barely comprehend. She did not just recommend a lawyer to Eala's team and wish them luck. According to sources embedded within her inner circle, Serena personally deployed her own invincible legal team, a group of litigators and corporate fixers who operate at the very highest levels of media and entertainment law. These are not attorneys who send strongly worded letters. These are the kind of legal minds who subpoena internal emails, depose executive producers, and dismantle institutional cultures from the inside out. They don't ask for apologies. They demand resignations, canceled shows, and settlements that make it physically painful for a network to ever repeat its mistakes. One source who spoke to us on condition of anonymity put it in terms that sent chills down our spines. They said, and I want you to hear every single word of this, they tried to break a young woman's spirit for ratings. Serena is here to ensure they pay the price. But to truly understand why Serena Williams has gone to these extraordinary lengths, you have to understand the deeply personal dimension of this story. Because when Serena watched that footage of Eala being cornered under the studio lights, she did not see a stranger. She saw a ghost of herself. She saw every uncomfortable press conference where reporters tried to bait her with loaded questions about her body, her personality, her relationships. She saw herself at Indian Wells in 2001, when she was just a teenager, walking onto the court and being greeted by a stadium full of people booing her, jeering her, directing racially charged vitriol at a young black girl who had committed the unforgivable sin of being extraordinary. She saw herself navigating years and years of media coverage that was not just biased, but actively hostile, that demanded she be grateful for coverage that was designed to diminish her, and that treated her not as the transcendent champion she was, but as a curiosity, a spectacle, a target. Serena Williams fought those battles with her racket, with her attitude, with her relentless excellence. But she fought them largely alone, because the infrastructure of athlete protection simply did not exist the way it needed to. And according to people very close to her, she has reportedly told her associates this week, with complete clarity and unmistakable fire, I did not fight those battles for 20 years, so the next generation would have to endure the same scripted toxicity. We are ending this now. Those words are not rhetoric. They are a declaration of intent from someone who has the resources, the influence, and the personal motivation to follow through completely. Serena Williams ending something means it gets ended. Full stop. Now, if you thought the nightmare for ABC ended with Serena Williams, I need you to take a deep breath, because it is about to get significantly worse for the network. Because Serena is not going into this battle alone. In a development that has left sports media executives across the industry absolutely reeling, Novak Djokovic, the most decorated men's tennis player in the history of the sport, the winner of 24 Grand Slam titles, and the founder of the Professional Tennis Players Association, has stepped directly into the fray. Together, Serena Williams and Novak Djokovic have formed what insiders are calling an iron dome of protection around Eala. And what that means for ABC is that they are no longer facing a lawsuit brought by a 20-year-old plaintiff. They are facing the combined, earth-shattering legal, financial, and reputational force of the two greatest tennis players who ever lived. Djokovic's involvement in this story is deeply rooted in his own lived experience. No athlete in the modern era has been more relentlessly targeted by media and institutional forces than Novak Djokovic. He was detained at the Australian border and deported from a Grand Slam he was favored to win, and the global media circus that surrounded that episode was, by any reasonable measure, a sustained campaign of humiliation and vilification directed at a man who had dedicated his entire life to the pursuit of excellence. He was booed in stadiums. He was ridiculed on talk shows. He was treated as a villain in a story where the facts were far more complicated than the narrative being sold to casual viewers. Djokovic knows, with absolute certainty, what it feels like to be tried and convicted by a panel of talking heads who have never held a tennis racket, never experienced the pressure of a Grand Slam final, and never had to defend their character in front of a national audience without preparation or support. When he saw what was done to Eala on The View, he recognized the playbook immediately, and he reportedly reached out to Serena within hours of the incident becoming public. Through the Professional Tennis Players Association, which Djokovic founded specifically to create the kind of structural player protections that have historically been absent from professional tennis, Novak has been aggressively advocating for Eala's rights and for the broader principle that athletes are human beings who deserve dignity, preparation, and fair treatment when they engage with media platforms. The PTPA has been building toward exactly this kind of moment since its founding, and Djokovic has made clear through his team that this case will be used to establish binding precedents that protect every professional tennis player, male or female, veteran or rising star, from the kind of ambush tactics allegedly employed by The View's production team. This is no longer a single incident. This is a landmark case in the ongoing redefinition of the relationship between professional athletes and the media. Let us talk about the legal strategy being deployed by this Iron Dome coalition, because it is absolutely surgical in its precision and devastating in its scope. The lawsuit is expected to allege multiple serious legal claims, including defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the deliberate creation of a hostile and psychologically damaging environment. But what makes this legal action genuinely terrifying for ABC is not just the claims themselves. It is the methodology of the team prosecuting them. Serena's legal squad is not going after the hosts who sat in front of the cameras and read from the prompters. They are going after the entire institutional architecture that made that ambush possible. They are subpoenaing producers. They are demanding internal communications, pre-show emails, production notes, and editorial planning documents that will reveal, if the allegations are accurate, a deliberate and premeditated strategy to use Eala's personal history and emotional vulnerabilities as raw material for viral daytime television content. The message being delivered to Sunny Hostin, to the executive producers, to the senior editorial staff, and to the top brass at ABC is not subtle. You did not simply target a vulnerable young woman. You targeted the tennis family. And the tennis family does not forgive, and it does not forget, and it has resources you are entirely unprepared to deal with. The response from advertisers, which is ultimately the language that network television actually speaks, has been notably anxious. Multiple brand representatives have reportedly reached out to their media buying agencies to assess their exposure in the event that this story continues to escalate. Advertising on The View is a significant investment for consumer brands that are deeply sensitive to public perception issues, and the optics of being associated with a show that allegedly ambushed a 20-year-old female athlete of color and is now the target of a $50 million lawsuit filed with the backing of Serena Williams are, to put it diplomatically, not ideal. If even a handful of major advertisers begin pulling or pausing their commitments to the program, the financial pressure on ABC to resolve this situation quickly and comprehensively will become overwhelming. And let us be completely clear about what a resolution on Serena's terms actually looks like, because it is not a quiet press release and a private handshake. Sources close to the legal team have indicated that the acceptable outcomes include formal, unambiguous public apologies not just from the hosts, but from the executive producers and network leadership. They include structural changes to how The View and programs like it handle athlete guests, specifically mandatory pre-interview consultations, clear limits on topic ambushes, and binding agreements about the scope of questioning. They potentially include personnel consequences for those most directly responsible for the editorial decisions that led to this situation. And they include a financial settlement significant enough to send an unmistakable message to every other daytime and primetime program in the country that this behavior carries a price that no advertiser revenue can offset. What is happening here is ultimately about something even larger than the protection of Eala or the punishment of ABC. It is about who gets to tell the stories of athletes, and on whose terms, and with whose dignity intact. For too long, athletes, particularly young athletes, athletes of color, and women athletes, have been positioned as content to be consumed rather than human beings to be respected. Their struggles, their triumphs, their vulnerabilities, and their private pain have been treated as the raw material for other people's careers and other corporations' quarterly earnings. Serena Williams spent 23 Grand Slams dismantling every ceiling that was placed above her. Now she is using everything she built to dismantle a system that put a ceiling over Eala before her career has even truly begun. The 20-year-old at the center of all of this, Eala herself, represents something genuinely extraordinary. She is among the most technically gifted young players in the world. Her journey through the junior ranks, her development, her determination, and her national significance as a symbol for Filipino excellence on the global stage, all of that was supposed to be a story of inspiration. The View allegedly tried to turn it into a story of exploitation. Serena Williams is ensuring it becomes a story of something else entirely. A story of accountability, of solidarity, and of a generation of athletes who have learned, from the greatest example in the history of their sport, that they do not have to accept the way things have always been. The scoreboard, as it stands right now, looks something like this. ABC and The View are facing a $50 million lawsuit with the most powerful name in the history of women's sports behind it. They are facing a co-plaintiff infrastructure backed by the most decorated men's player who ever lived. They are facing a discovery process that their own legal team appears terrified of. They are facing advertiser anxiety, public relations catastrophe, and an international sports community that is watching every single move they make. And on the other side, you have Serena Williams, who has never lost a battle she decided truly mattered. You have Novak Djokovic, who has never broken under pressure that would have shattered anyone else. And you have Eala, who walked out of that studio with her head held high and unknowingly started a revolution. The era of bullying young athletes for clicks and for ratings is over. Serena Williams just signed the death certificate. Now I want to hear from every single one of you watching this right now. Do you think ABC deserves to pay every single penny of that $50 million? Do you stand with Serena Williams and Eala and the entire tennis family that is fighting back against media exploitation? Drop the word Queens in the comments section right now if you are with them. Let us flood this comment section and show the entire world and every network executive who might be watching that the fans are paying attention, that we see what was done to Eala, and that we stand firmly on the side of dignity, respect, and accountability. This is the moment the balance of power shifts. Be part of it. And listen, before you even think about clicking away, I am telling you right now that you absolutely cannot miss our next video. We have obtained details about the private, deeply personal text message that Serena Williams sent directly to Eala on the exact night of the walkout. The words in that message are going to give you chills. They reveal exactly who Serena Williams is when the cameras are off, and they explain better than anything else why Eala has been able to hold her head so high throughout all of this. You do not want to miss that. Hit the subscribe button right now, turn on your notification bell so that video lands directly in your feed the moment it drops, and leave a like on this video to help us get the truth in front of as many eyes as possible. The mainstream media is not going to tell this story the way it needs to be told. That is what we are here for. This is Champions Tennisitics, bringing you the real story, always from behind the baseline. We will see you in the next one.
In seconds, that's all it took to flip a major network upside down. An ABC anchor thought the mic was off. It wasn't. One careless line about Eala turned into a global mess within.
Leadership leads to talent development. You really want a leader that wants to develop talent and that wants their team to be the best in class and the best team that they can have.
And, you know, whether I saw the other day with Eala, you know, yeah, that's been a talk, and which is understandable.